I'm Benjamin Hall, and I'm searching for heroes.
First of all, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for being here so early.
We're on your schedule for
my day started, 3.5 hours ago.
I'm not sure I'm going to stick to it, but I like that you do. You give us all hope, I think. It is Ash Wednesday today, of course, and you've got your ashes on already. And I think, just to start off, you can tell us a little bit about what those ashes mean to you.
Well, for me, obviously, it's the start of Lent, and it's a reminder that I need to do more and I need to be better. And there's things that are in my life that are distracting and take me away from my focus on building my relationship and getting closer to God. And then, of course, living that purpose-filled life that He's chosen for me, to really understand what that is and how I can do that. And, I'm very excited about Lent, and I'm excited about, so many people come up to me and have talked about how, especially with the Hallow app, it's touched their lives. It's, got them to start going back to church, or at least back to prayer. And it's a nice reminder of what I should be doing. And I try to stay in my focus and my dedication to growing a better relationship with God, but I need that every day.
Yeah, you said that there are some things that are distracting to you, and I suppose that Lent is also about penance. It's about admitting wrongdoing. I mean, so you must be thinking a lot about those things. And so what in your case sort of is distracting?
I think we all have things to repent for, and
do you have any examples of your own?
Oh, many, many, many. From very early days, I had a very, very troubled childhood until now. Just, being impatient with people, being short with people, not being as understanding, as thoughtful. It's just, you get caught up in all these things every day in your life. And, there's only one person that was perfect that walked this earth, and that was Jesus. And everybody else should be a little bit more mindful that people have difficult, and to be kind and loving is the only thing that's going to bring people together in a world where there's so much divide.
Yeah. It's interesting because how do you take... we're in lucky positions. You've achieved so much. You've talked often about your blessings. But there are some people who don't have those blessings, who are in a more difficult situation. What would you say to them, and how can they turn their lives around? How can they pick themselves up if they've been knocked down?
Well, I think obviously having a relationship with God, pursuing a relationship with God every day. I think God is also a very jealous person, and if you are or a very jealous being, if you are dividing your time between so many other things and not taking time for God, I think it helps you to put things in perspective. It helps you deal with the difficulties of everyday life. And, let's face it, we all deal with lots of difficulty in our lives. There will be suffering, there will be loss, there will be, failure. And the only way to deal with those things and still have gratitude and appreciation, because people always have it harder than you, is to have a relationship with God. And there is a purpose for every one of us, and finding out what that purpose is, whether that's the priesthood, whether that's being a teacher, whether that's just going out of your way to reach out to somebody who's having difficulty in their lives. But there is definitely a purpose for all of us. And for me, I feel like nobody is beyond redemption. God knows your heart, and if you are sincere and want to make amends and change your life, a lot of people say people don't change. People are very capable of change. People are capable of greatness, but you have to show people and be an example. Despite my difficulty and where I came from and the adversity that I faced, once I chose the right path, good things started happening for me.
Yeah.
And for me, that was a clear indication that this is what I need to do, and I need to stay on that path. And sometimes it's difficult because, like I said, the world moves very fast. There's lots of distraction. There's lots of things that pull your attention away, whether it's your phone and film and entertainment, social media, and many, many different things. And, for me, if I start my day on my hands and my knees, first and foremost, expressing my gratitude, and then asking for the guidance and the ability to articulate His message and do what He's chosen for me, I have a good chance of being successful that day. Yeah. And I just kind of take it one day at a time.
You say that everyone goes through struggle of some sorts, and do you think that even though can be difficult, that you can grow stronger through struggle, and have you experienced that?
Absolutely. We were talking about that earlier. I mean, to see your attitude and your positivity after what you've experienced is incredible. It's so encouraging and so inspiring. And everything that we do is aspirational. I always tell people it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what you're facing. If there is something that you want to accomplish in life, you can if you're willing to do the work. And with God's help, it makes all of those things that much easier and helps you put things in perspective.
And Hallow, the app, which is one of the biggest apps out there, it's bringing millions and millions of people to pray, to talk to God, is doing that. And I wonder, do you think that Hallow is a sign that people need another way of talking to God in this modern era, that perhaps that the young people need something different than just going to church? And is that why you set up Hallow?
Absolutely. I think, I was looking for more ways to utilize the platform that I have and the blessings that have been bestowed upon me to do what God has, put me in this position for. So Hallow was one thing. Father Stu really was the catalyst to that. And then, I met Alex and we talked about Hallow, and there were other apps, but there was something so genuine about his desire to just reconnect people with God, either connect or reconnect people with God. And I felt like his heart was so pure and in the right place that I decided to work with Hallow and become, a partner in the app. And, I've made, 50, 60 movies. People always come up to me and say something, but most of the time now, whether I'm in a casino and I live in Vegas, I'm going to a restaurant or wherever I'm at, people usually talk about Hallow and how much it's changed their lives, either reconnecting them after them being lapsed or, finding a path to meeting and being introduced to God and faith for the first time in their lives.
Yeah, you talk about lapsing and people's relationship with religion often comes and goes. Personally, I was raised a strict Catholic, but then you lose that sometimes, you get distracted, like you were talking about earlier, but then you come back on again. I wonder if you've had those own experiences where sometimes you slip away, you don't pay much attention to your faith, and then you come back, and that's what it's a journey.
Yeah, I think for me, it is. Life is a very long journey, but I encourage people to do it. The same thing with their faith, with their fitness, and focusing on their family. Encouraging young people to help them avoid making the mistakes that I made and other people make, because with God in your life every day, it allows you to be in a position where you can make the right choices. If you're thinking from a very positive perspective, there's a better chance that you're going to go about things in a positive way, and you are going to affect people in a positive way around you. Versus, if you're kind of like, oh, well, it doesn't matter anyway. You have this kind of attitude where nobody cares about me. I've encountered a lot of people who feel that way. But to touch people at a young and early age, I think it will have a massive effect on not only young people as a whole, but also the world as a whole.
You talk about helping other people, and of course, one of the things on Hallow is the Decade of the Rosary, and it actually brings stories of people who are struggling, and it allows you all to come together and pray for them. It's a community, and I think that's something which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, like I said, I've read so many letters of people who have reconnected through Hallow to their faith and how it's impacted their lives in such a wonderful and positive way. And if you could connect with anybody, that's a big deal. Say if you could bring one person to God, you can go to heaven. I have just the idea of heaven. My dad suffered very much. My mom suffered a lot. I've lost 2 sisters. I've dealt with a lot of loss in my life, but that gives me hope. That there is a better place and that the suffering is not for nothing.
Do you still talk to them in your prayers? Do you talk to those that you've lost? What do you
Yes.
say to them?
Yeah. I've dealt with so much loss. I think it started taking up a big portion of my prayer time, and I think, but yes, I think about it every day, and I, of course, think about all the wonderful people along the way who have affected my life in a positive way through their faith. There have been so many people that I've encountered along the way and throughout my journey.
What would you say to those people that have gone? Like if you were talking to them one morning in your prayers, what are you saying to them?
There are certain people that have been in my life. Other people I remind that they won't be forgotten. Other people, to kind of look out for me. I have some people in my life that I really feel were guardian angels in my life that came to me at a time when I most needed it. Whether that when I was young and in trouble, older, getting married, having a child for the first time. I had so many people who have been a wonderful, wonderful faith and inspiration in my faith in my life.
Yeah, you talk about your family, and wonder how you talk about your faith with your children. And you said before that you're not forcing them to be religious. You're not forcing them to pray. You just want to. I mean, how do you want to inspire them to be religious without actually making them do it?
Well, I think by being an example. I think by just living it every single day, and they know that no matter what, I'm starting out on my hands and my knees, and no matter what, I'm going to make it to Mass on Saturday or Sunday, and that's the most important part of my life, and that has allowed me the ability to be there for them in every capacity. But hopefully, just being an example, they're going to gravitate towards it because they see how much it works for me. And like I said, when you were talking about it earlier, I did want to touch on this because obviously when I was younger, I wasn't really like in a strict Catholic family. My parents expected us to go to church, but they weren't going. So, it was like, okay, we would say we would go, you get a missalette, you kind of take off, go to the park or whatever. And then when I got in trouble, of course, I was relying on God. But then as those things start to change, you have a tendency to not focus so much on, what has helped you turn your life around. And then, of course, as I started to become a parent and, a husband, I realized, I need this every single day in my life to have a really strong foundation. And there is a purpose for me. And so the more I seek the relationship with God, the more I realized that I had to live a purpose-filled life and bring other people to God because, this is not something that I want to keep in secret, even though, you're supposed to go and pray in secret and in almsgiving, the left hand is not supposed to know what the right hand is doing, but there's also a message that I want to share because it's so wonderful. It's changed my life in such a positive way. I want to make sure that I can share that with people and encourage people to experience that themselves and pass the word along.
Yeah, because it's a balance. I mean, Lent, of course, is about talking about, wrongdoings, etc. But Hallow as well has these moments of uplifting joy and uplifting prayer, and it's got Christian music on it. And so I suppose that's...
There's so much positivity, love, and joy, But, in life, it's not all fun and games. And life is, there are difficult times that we're all going to face. And I can't imagine going through those difficult times without my faith and without my relationship with God, because it allows you to put things in perspective. This is a very short life, We want to...
You must see yourself as sort of a messenger for God. I mean, you have a platform which reaches out to millions and millions of people, and I wonder if that makes you some kind of a disciple. I mean, you must think that you have almost been given an opportunity to focus on this and to spread His word.
I would say that I'm nothing other than a humble servant to God, and I realize that, yes, I was put in this position for a specific reason, and it's not to just kind of forget about where I've come from or what I've experienced and what other people are going through. It's to kind of share that with others, but just a very humble servant, and the sign of the cross on my forehead is a sign of, and a sign of humility and a reminder, that we are dust, and to dust we shall return. But through God, all things are possible.
More of our conversation right after this.
When it comes to the work that you choose at the moment, particularly when it comes to movies, what role does your faith have in picking, the parts you're going to pick or the movies you're going to make? I mean, that must now be a priority.
It is. I mean, look, I made Father Stu because I wanted to make sure that I was doing more things that were encouraging people to pursue a relationship with God and even the vocation of priesthood. But I don't want to be, I want to make sure that my artistic integrity is still intact, and that I've always joked, and when I met the Holy Father, I joked that I hope God is a movie fan because I've made movies that maybe are deemed a little bit inappropriate, but, as an artist, I want to try to do things that are more challenging, but, as a man of God, it's my responsibility, even in making movies, to continue to promote the message that I was, basically, chosen to continue to articulate.
At the moment on Hallow, Jonathan is out there. I think that they are releasing videos from the Holy Land at the moment, and I wonder, you've been to the Holy Land. What are your sort of thoughts?
I have not. It is a trip that I'm looking forward to. For me, really, everywhere that I've gone, for the most part, has been about work and where I'm going to kind of do the next job, and usually taking me away from my family. But it's something that my wife and I especially we're really looking forward to visiting.
It must be quite difficult being away from your family. I mean, your career takes you away for large periods of time. Is that the difficult part?
That is the biggest sacrifice, yes, being away from my family. I'm blessed to have the job that I have, it's just very difficult being away from home. And, now they don't make movies in the U.S. anymore, which is a big reason why I want to continue to try to create a tax incentive in Nevada and other places to keep films in the U.S. I mean, I love France, I love England, but, it's very far from home, and it's not like I could go home on the weekends versus if I'm shooting, in another state, I can always fly home on the weekend and come back.
You do so many things at the moment, whether it's your businesses, whether it's Hallow, whether it's the movies. Is there something else that you're still working towards? I mean, it's a difficult, your physical fitness, but you seem like someone who always has goals, always wants to do something more. What's the next step? What's something?
Well, I think, to kind of, if you think about the whole kind of ecosystem that we've created, it's all about life experience, but most importantly, it's aspirational. We want people to be the best versions of themselves. We want people to be successful and know that through hard work anything is possible. And with God as the center of your life, you've got a better chance to succeed than without. And so everything that we do, we want to encourage people, despite where you come from, what adversity you face, there isn't anything you can't accomplish if you're willing to do the work and put the time in.
I think quite a lot of people think that things might come to them without appreciating that hard work is what's actually required. That as much as you believe, as much as you want something, unless you it's not
in your time, it's in God's time. It's like you continue to be there all the time, ready and focused and ready to listen and take the direction that he's giving you. That's why the more you pray, the more you're present in your relationship and communication with God. And then, like I said, it's in his time. So you have to be prepared and ready.
Yeah.
And pursuing that relationship with God every day is going to allow you to recognize what that purpose he has for you.
You're quite strict on when you, on your routine, but also about your prayers. I mean, you fit in specifically at certain times throughout the day.
Routine and discipline, people are always like, well, if I had the opportunity to star in movies and all that stuff, then I would do that. I would work that hard too. But people don't realize it's because I've worked so hard that I've gotten to the position that I'm at. I was never supposed to be in this position. If you look back throughout the 30 some odd years of my career, when they're always talking about who's the next guy, this is the next guy, this is the next, I was never in the conversation. I just kept my head down and kept working. And, I realized, well, why am I so blessed? Why am I so fortunate? And it always came back to one reason. God chose me to utilize me in the way that he wants me to conduct and carry myself and to do his work. And so, finding out what that is. I mean, I'm still in the process of that every day. I still pray for that every day to fulfill the potential that he sees in me.
Perhaps
but the last thing I want to do is disappoint when I've been so blessed and so fortunate just to turn my life around, just to be able to leave Boston in the neighborhood that I grew up in and realize that the rest of the world doesn't think that way. You know what I mean? There's so many wonderful people from all over the world. I have my Muslim brothers, I have my Jewish brothers, I have people that I've met all walks of life from all over the world.
Yeah.
Which is why, I continue to just make sure that I pray for everybody. And I think God, there's one judge, there's one guy who's perfect.
How do you think, how do you balance Christianity up against other religions?
Well, I don't know enough to say. I only know that, this is how I was raised. I was baptized. I made my communion. I was confirmed. And so this is the faith that I have. And, but I certainly don't. I encourage everybody to come together. Yeah.
And to finish up with Hallow, of course, there's the 40-day Lent challenge. Chris Pratt is involved in it as well.
So many wonderful people are coming to be part of Hallow. It's amazing. I mean, Hallow literally last year during the Lenten season was the #1 app in the world. That's pretty incredible. The people from all over the world are taking part and praying, and I think this year will be even better.
Can I ask what you're giving up for Lent?
You know what? You're going to see, I'm actually saying it right here, I am going to be much more mindful of what I'm doing with social media, what I'm posting, and, I always want to do more, though. I think for me it's important to do more. It's easy for me to give up certain foods and drinking and all that stuff. For me, I need to do more. But yeah, I'm going to be more mindful. I would like to, a lot of times I'd like to throw my phone out the window for good, but it's my source of communication to my family and to my people, and business and I have a lot of responsibility, and through the various things that we do, we're responsible for a lot of other people.
Have you tried it for a day?
Their livelihood? Yeah. It's good now because I'm in Europe, so everybody's asleep right now. But I have business all over the world. But I want to be much more mindful of what I'm looking at, because that's the thing too, and I'm trying to do that even not just in the 40 days of Lent, because what you're looking at, what you're consuming, resonates in your heart, and at some point it's coming back out. So I just try to be more mindful. It's tough, but to fulfill the potential that God sees in you, we've been so blessed and so fortunate. It's a big responsibility, but
Well, many people look to you, and I think you inspire many people. So I suppose.
Well, I think people realize too that we're just completely honest and open and transparent about what I've experienced and what positive things it's put in my life and in my personal life and who I am as a person, what I want to accomplish, as a father and as a husband and as an example and a servant to God. I've been very, very fortunate, and we're all weak in the flesh. You got to stay on that path every single day.
Yeah. Look, thank you so much for talking with us.
Thank you, brother. It's a pleasure. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for your inspiration.
Thanks for listening to Searching for Heroes. Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcasts Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app.